What's up, guys? I am tired of settling for mediocrity in my own life. And I'm doing this in every area of my life. For the last year, I haven't gotten better financially, physical health, and dating. I'm doing all right, but I'm not doing better than I did the previous year. And in this video, I want to talk about how I've let that happen because I know this is happening to most people. Most people are slowly getting worse year after year after year. And I've let this happen to me. And I'm going to talk about how I've let this happen, the mindsets that have caused that to happen, and what I'm going to do about it. Because realistically, in the last year, if I really wanted to, I could have gotten myself to where I have a six pack, where I'm ripped, where I'm in amazing shape. I could be, this might sound arrogant, but I could be a multimillionaire if I worked more because I brought my business from my YouTube channel, from my email list, all that kind of stuff, my website. I brought it from 0 to 6 figures in about 2 years. And I did that working 10 to 20 hours per week. But you know what else I do? More than 20 hours per week? Watch bullshit content. Watch Netflix. Watch mindless YouTube videos. And I'll not just watch dumb YouTube videos. I'll watch people playing a video game that I don't even play, like Pro Overwatch or some shit. Like total waste of time, total mindlessness. And I've let that suck me down. And I know that if I don't change something, becoming the best version of myself, becoming the person I really want to be, it's not guaranteed. It doesn't happen for most people. Most people stagnate. They get worse year after year after year. And that can happen to me just as easily as it can happen to anyone else. And it can happen to you just as easily as it can happen to anyone else. And it's time to get pissed off about that. It's time to stop accepting that, to stop being okay with that, to stop thinking that's normal because everyone else around me is doing the same. It's such bullshit. And it all comes from this desire to avoid adversity. It all starts with that. It all starts, I come up with a plan for how I'm going to build my business, how I'm going to get in better shape. And then I start feeling adversity. I change my diet and I start feeling a craving. And I'm like, you know what? I should give into that craving. Or I start making more YouTube videos for my channel. And I think, this is too hard. Maybe I should do it slowly. I should build up slowly. Success doesn't happen from half steps. It doesn't happen from very slow progress. It happens from pushing yourself. It happens from embracing the stress, from enjoying the stress, from knowing that stress means progress. That's where it comes from. And that is what I have avoided. That's what I've fought against. That's what I've rationalized to avoid. That's what I've rationalized myself to find any way I can weasel my way out of more challenge, from taking on more stress, more responsibility, more self-discipline. I'm looking for any way around that. But really, there is no way around that. And looking for a way around that is the problem. That's what I've decided. That's what I've decided my mindset is going to be. That the reason my strategy isn't working when I decide, you know what, I'm going to upload multiple videos per day on YouTube. The reason it's not working is not because it's too stressful. It's because I'm being a bitch about dealing with the stress. Because if I just push through it and take action anyway, it all fades away. This goes to approaching women. Yes, that first approach is really hard. Yes, there's a lot of anxiety. Yes, you can get rejected and it can be really difficult. But guess what? Once you go through it, a few rejections, once you approach 5, 10 girls, taking action becomes easy. Once you stop looking for a way to weasel your way around it. And that's what I need to do. No more bullshit about, I'm going to do, reduce my calories by 100, or I need to binge eat tonight, or I need alcohol because I'm stressed. Such bullshit. Such bullshit that I've convinced myself I need to do. And my strategy to change that is to decide whatever commitment I make, I'm going to follow through with it. Now, I'm not going to make extremely long-term commitments, like I'm going to do something every day for a year. because you don't know if what you're doing is going to have the long-term results you want. So instead, I'm going to make a commitment to try something for a week, 2 weeks. And if I'm noticing progress, I'm noticing results, then I'll keep doing it and I'll reevaluate every week or 2 weeks. That's what I'm going to do. And secondly, what I'm going to do is acknowledge the time that I've been the most productive and made the most progress in every area of my life, fitness, money, everything. The times I've made the most progress is when I gave up content, is when I gave up passivity, when I gave up laying in bed, watching Netflix, playing video games, doing things that numb myself. Because something very powerful happens when you are stressed, you feel overwhelmed, and you just sit in the bed for a bit. You just sit and think. You go on a walk. You do nothing. You don't look at your phone. You don't watch a video. You just think. And you think about, what could I be doing differently? How could I solve this problem? And all of a sudden, your stress starts to disappear. You start to feel better. You start to feel energized. And all of a sudden, you want to take more action. So that's what I've decided I'm going to do, because I know if I live my life the way I lived my life in the last year, I will not achieve what I want to achieve, what I could achieve, and I will not become the person that I want to become. And I know that the majority of people end up failing in those regards. So I hope this video gave you some ideas. I hope you take something from it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a comment. If this resonated with you, make sure to leave a comment talking about what your thoughts are on this mindset I'm talking about, this reality that I'm talking about. Do you disagree with my solution to the problem? Let me know in the comment section below, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. Yo, what is up? Yeah, procrastination is the biggest factor. And what is up, Kelly? All right. Let's see if I might do another topic, guys. I've been good for the most part. Okay, let's see. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to be smooth as fuck. And specifically, I'm talking about dating. I'm talking about to be smooth with women, to have the kinds of interactions that almost feel like they're from a movie, right? It almost feels like a James Bond scene or something like that, because it's just so effortless, so easy, and so memorable that girls go home with you sometimes in less than 30 minutes of meeting them. Now, this is not going to be a video about little tricks and tactics that are ultimately meaningless. This is going to be about the real truth of someone who has taken hundreds of girls home from clubs, bars, from the day, from college campus, from everywhere, who's actually had success, and someone who started as someone with panic disorder and extreme social anxiety, and I didn't even kiss a girl until I was 19. So that's where this is coming from. Now, the key, what it's really all about, is getting over your self-consciousness, is shutting off the inner Woody Allen, shutting off the voice in your head that says, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not tall enough. She might reject me. She might not like me. Do I say this? Do I say that? That little voice that is neurotic, that is basically beating you down. You have to get rid of that voice. Then once you've done that, then we can go into a more advanced video about specific tactics, but the tactics don't matter until you have the foundation of not caring about what people think of you, until you reach something called the indifference threshold. That is the first key. So how do you do this? It comes down to one thing that most guys don't want to do, that is very easy to avoid, to rationalize, to make excuses, but is the one thing that every guy I know who is extremely smooth does. And that is to face rejection again and again and again and again in increasing levels of difficulty if that makes sense, until you literally stop caring, until you're over it, until you're like, you know what, fuck it. Fuck it. I don't care if she rejects me. When you genuinely have that feeling, then you start going up to girls and you are far more clever. You are far more creative. You are far more confident. You take the lead without hesitation. And it's because of something called transient hypofrontality, which comes from flow science. And fun fact, flow states, just let me get this out of the way, the definition, because it's not everyone knows. A flow state is a feeling where a flow state is where you perform your best and you feel your best. It is a state where time dilates. So time goes by extremely quickly or extremely slowly. And you just feel so immersed in what you're doing that everything else fades away. And in this state, the part of your brain, the inner Woody Allen, the part of your brain that is self-conscious, literally shuts off. And the parts of your brain associated with positive emotion, with confidence, with boldness, with being alpha or high status or whatever you want to call it, become hyperactive. They become more active. And funny story, there's a book about flow states. I believe it's called Stealing Fire. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it was Stealing Fire. And in this book, the author at the end says, we need to watch out because flow states can be used by people like pickup artists to have an unfair advantage in the dating game. And he's right. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. So the key is to get into a flow state. And the only way to do this is to do things that are 10% out of your skill level, 10% out of your comfort zone, things that make you feel that feeling in the pit of your stomach, but you can still do it, where you feel resistance, but not so much resistance that it's overwhelming. That is the art to this. So if you're someone with social anxiety, this might be just going out, let's say to a park, to a mall, to a bar, whatever, and literally just like saying good afternoon or complimenting someone's shirt. Just saying, I like your outfit, I like your style, I like your shoes, just complimenting people. Then every time you do this, you realize nothing bad happened. Nothing bad happened. It's okay to socialize. I got a smile. Oh, she didn't notice. She didn't give me a response, but she didn't say fuck off and die either. It wasn't a big deal. And what this does is it slowly inches you to getting to the point where that, like I said, whatever I said, where the insecure part of your brain literally shuts off. And as you're able to do this, eventually you'll reach a point where you can go to the next level, which is to go up to a girl and say, do you know where there's a good restaurant nearby? Or to ask for something cool nearby. Or to say, hey, I just wanted to say, I really like your style. And then continue walking. You don't even commit to it, but you just do that. Then once you're able to do that, then the next step is to do a direct approach where you say, hey, I just wanted to say you're really cute. Then you keep pushing this further and further. And so the next step might be a group of girls instead of just one girl. Or it might be to approach a girl at the bar and actually invite her to the dance floor, or to start being physical, or to hold stronger eye contact. Anything that's a bit out of your comfort zone, to speak with more enthusiasm and passion, right? To practice things like that. You're slowly pushing things to where you're more and more expressive, more and more bold. And eventually, if you keep doing that, you will reach the indifference threshold. You will reach a flow state where you are smooth as fuck. Now, in order to get there, you need to get over your ego of looking for the perfect approach, looking for the perfect opportunity. Be willing to talk to anybody, because anybody you talk to, if you're offering value, you're being positive, first of all, you're more likely to get positive responses, which gives you a mindset boot, which improves your mindset. But secondly, you're just getting more momentum. The less time you spend between interactions, the better. And once you do that, if you go out to a bar and maybe you're starting, you can't even barely say hello, right? You're like, hi, I like your shirt. And you just keep walking. You can't even commit. Even if that's the case, if you do this for 45 minutes, an hour, and you slowly push yourself farther and farther over the course of the night, you will find that by the end of that hour, you are smoother than you have ever been before. And that is what being smooth. And that is how, if you're not someone who's naturally smooth, some little trick isn't going to do anything. Some little technique, some line you're going to say isn't going to do anything. You need to learn how to shift into that state, into a flow state. And then once you're good at getting into that state, then you can worry about the small details. But those are the icing on the cake. Those are bonus. That is not what really matters for the majority of people. And that is not even what gets the majority of your results. It's getting into that carefree state. And that's exactly how you do that. Now, this is easier said than done. Obviously, pushing yourself, getting out of your comfort zone, there's a lot of resistance and it can be extremely difficult. It was for me as someone who had severe social anxiety. If you want help with that, the fastest and easiest way to do this is to get in-person coaching to where you have someone pushing you to take massive action, where you create a situation where it is far easier than it ever would have been otherwise, where you can make more progress in a weekend than most guys do in an entire year. And you can click the link below to learn more about my in-person boot camps. Now, let me look at the comments real quick. I don't know. I'll do a live with him when I do a live with him. I appreciate that. Alex is a great guy. Yeah, I mean, healthy gamer, right? That's who I assume you mean. That's 100% true. All right, let's see. I've got a list of topics. Man, it's so sad that this video is like highly searched for. I'm going to be honest. The topic today is something that I find depressing as hell, that it's a common YouTube search term. It's something people are looking for. I find this depressing, and it's not a video I want to have to make, but people are looking it up. This is what people want to know, and this is where we are at as a society. This is how cucked modern men are, how we've been taught to be petrified of talking to a girl, how we think, you're going to get me too just for saying hello. That's where we've gotten to, because the topic is what to do when a girl looks at you. You know what the answer is? Go talk to her. Now, that's an oversimplification, obviously, but the truth is she might be looking at you because she might be looking at you for any number of reasons. But there's a very good chance that if your intuition says, I think she might be checking me out, she might be checking me out. We have, through millions of years of evolution, an instinct to be able to pick up on those cues. Now, we learn through social conditioning to rationalize ourselves out of it, to convince ourselves they're not really interested, to get in our own way. But if even a part of you says she's into you, go for it. And here's the thing. There's a very real chance that you were wrong. That will happen sometimes. Or maybe you approach in a way, you talk to her in a way where she was interested and she's like, I don't like this. And she loses interest right away. That can happen. But so what? Because there's also a very high chance that if a girl looks at you and there's a part of you that thinks she's interested, there's a very high chance that she is interested. There's a good chance that this is a girl you're going to end up getting a date with, you're going to end up hooking up with. And every time you go for it, even if you get rejected, you're building confidence. Going forward and getting rejected, it's not like a part of your soul dies. It's not like you have one less approach, like one less life in a video game, and you're running out. And the situation has gotten worse. No. What happens is that you realize the rejection wasn't a big deal like you thought it would be. You realize she was, most of the time, they're even very polite about it. Oh, thank you so much, but I have a boyfriend. Most of the time, that's the kind of response you get. Not a big deal, not the end of the world. And you actually get over your ego a little bit more. That's what happens. You get over your ego, this little voice in your head that says, oh, bad things are going to happen. I shouldn't put myself out there. Toxic masculinity, blah, 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 blah. All that bullshit that gets inundated into our minds. You let go of it a little bit more, and you become the kind of man that does what he wants to do, even if he feels resistance. You become someone who has developed courage. And that will make you more attractive to the next girl that you approach. Worst thing that can happen is she says, sorry. Or actually, the worst thing that can happen is she says, fuck off. Okay, so what? it still actually benefits you. It makes you a stronger man. It makes you less of a bitch. Now, if you're relying on waiting for girls to give you eye contact and you don't won't talk to anyone without that, you're also being a bitch. But when you get those opportunities, take them, and you'll be surprised how often they lead to something great. How often the girl is grateful that you approached. Thoughts on the Adam 22 situation? I have no idea. I think he may be uh what do you call it? Just marketing. He may be a genius marketer that's just taking the opportunity. That's what I would say about him. Now, if you're someone who felt the need to click on this video because you're like, yeah, I don't know what to do when a girl looks at me. I don't go for it. Maybe she was into me, and that related to you, and that's why you felt the need to click on this video. The easiest way to get out of that mentality of being of analysis paralysis, of overthinking, of waiting for permission, and not taking control of your dating life, the easiest way to get over that is with in-person coaching. An online course can help. A video can help, but they can't do what in-person coaching can, which is give you real accountability and real leverage to where you have no choice but to take action, and to where you're getting feedback from someone who's helped hundreds of guys in person who knows exactly what every mistake looks like that you might be making and how to fix it. Because it's very common that a guy who I take onto my coaching program, they have such a basic mistake that they didn't know they were making. Like they're too quiet and the girls barely notice them. They don't hold strong enough eye contact. It's things that you wouldn't think that you're doing, but you have no way to know because you don't see yourself from third person. You don't have a coach guiding you through the process. And when you do, it becomes very obvious how to quickly fix those mistakes and radically improve your results. So click the link below to learn more about my in-person coaching. How much do boot camps cost? It depends on the type. The very cheapest ones that are called group boot camps that I do once every 6 months or so are $1,000, and that's the cheapest. Do I want to make that video? I think I'm going to really quickly, I'm going to do one more topic. One that's like guaranteed to get views. So if you guys have questions, that'd be a good time because I'm going to download this video really. And if anyone recognizes that voice, you know. All right. So I'm going to react to a video of this guy who I love. Best city to meet women in the U.S. There's no easy answer to that. The best city to get a lot of one-night stands in the U.S. In night game would be Vegas. The best. Also, I've never really been to New York, so I have to just keep that in mind. I don't know New York that well. Would definitely, but I've been to most major cities. I just went to Houston last week, so I checked that one off. But I've been to Austin, San Diego, tons of them, Miami, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So for night game, Vegas, you can go out literally Monday through Sunday, and there's busy clubs, and there's tons of hot girls, and there's a lot of tourists. So Vegas is the best for getting laid in night game, not necessarily for meeting a girlfriend. It's pretty bad, but for getting laid, Vegas. Then for day game, it would be Miami because South Beach is amazing. Brickell is amazing. It's by far, I'd say, the best I've been to. Unless you're college aged. If you're college aged, you can go to any city with a major college campus and you're good. So, but I would say Miami is, other than that, Miami is the best for day game. And it's still really good for night game. And Vegas is still really good for day game, but it's better for night game. But then it really, beyond that, it just depends. If you're like more looking for a relationship, you go to where the culture matches what you're into, right? So if you like girls that are like more super hot, but kind of like plastic, then you would go somewhere like LA. If you want somewhere where there's a lot of Latinas, you might go to Miami. If you If you really like Asians, you might go to, Seattle. I don't know if Seattle's amazing, but, it has more Asian girls. If you want to go somewhere that has more like girl next door types, you might go to Austin. Those are a few examples. If you want like really hot blondes that aren't as bougie, like they're less likely to be gold diggers, still some are, then you go to Phoenix. Oh my God, it says 6 minutes to download. Okay, I'm going to end the live stream, start editing some of these videos, and then I'll come back as soon as that downloads. Unless you guys have any questions that are begging to be asked. Tuning in while I work on stuff. I was a student of Avery and Denton. Strongly recommend going as a boot camp as they catch. Thanks, man. Glad to hear it. Have you ever had a client that was too ugly for pickup? When I've had those, there are, okay. This is actually a good topic. Do you need to be a certain level of good looking to succeed with pickup, to succeed with approaching women in real life? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. You do need to have a certain level. Now, what I've heard people in the black pill say is you have to be in the top 25% or the top 10% to have success. That's not true. I have seen with my own two eyes plenty of guys who are not the top 10%, not Chads or Chad Lights or whatever, who have success. But is there a minimum threshold to where if you're below that, it's going to be a real struggle? Yes, absolutely. That exists. Now, I would say, and I'm someone who has a very unique experience because I take guys in real life and coach them and show them how to approach women. And I see the kind of reactions they get. I see the results that guys of every different background get. So I have a very good idea of what is possible, of what kind of guy can succeed and what kind of guy is really going to struggle. I would say it's somewhere around the bottom 10%, maybe bottom 5% where it's a real struggle. Now, those guys can still get success, but it's like substantially harder, right? It takes a lot more approaches, a lot more effort, a lot more other things to get success. It's harder. Now, the bottom 10%, for the most part, means you're obese. For the most part. It means you are legitimately obese, right? Like actually obese, not just overweight. I've been 40 pounds overweight and I was still crushing it. But I mean obese. Or let's say you're in horrible shape and you're extremely short. You're like 5'2" and you're in really bad shape. Well, then it's going to be extremely difficult. So that threshold definitely exists. The vast majority of guys, if you are in decent shape, not even amazing shape, just decent enough shape, just not massively overweight, if you work on being charismatic, you shoot your shot enough times and you approach enough women, you will be able to have regular success. Do looks make a difference? They mostly make a difference for people that are outside the bell curve. So the guys that are in the top 1% of good looking, right? The guys that are 6'4", they're super, they have model facial features, they're ripped. Is it way easier for them? Yes, absolutely. It is. Most guys, though, are not on that side of the bell curve. They're not on the bottom side of the bell curve, and they're irrelevant. Thinking about them is so stupid. It's like being born, it's like being born in America, and you think about how some people are born multimillionaires to multimillionaire families. Now it's harder for you to be a multimillionaire. What's that going to do to your mindset? What is that going to do to your mindset? It's going to be so much harder to get yourself to take action because you feel like a victim compared to this person who has it easier. They do have it easier. It is harder for you. But does that mean it's impossible for you? No. And that's a nuance that people want to avoid because it's so much easier to tell yourself a victim story than to say, look, I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm somewhere in the middle where it doesn't make that much of a difference. If you're an outlier, it makes a big difference. If you're in the top 1%, bottom 1%, it makes a huge difference. But if you're anywhere in the middle, your looks are not that huge of a factor. And I've seen many, many guys in that range pull models, pull threesomes, pull hot girls every week, etc., etc. So if you're in the normal range, is it harder for you than a Chad? Yes, Of course it is. Just like it's harder for me to become a multimillionaire than it is for someone who is born to super rich parents. But if I spend my days watching videos about how it's hard for me because I'm not super rich, how I shouldn't try, how I should just give up, how I should feel sorry for myself, what am I going to do? Am I going to do better? Am I going to take action? Am I going to reach my potential despite my potential maybe being lower than that person with those unfair advantages? No. I'm going to do worse. I'm going to settle for mediocrity at best. And I'm saying this as someone who is legitimately, I was born to a very poor family. Both my parents made barely above minimum wage. My dad, while I was in high school, lived in a trailer that was the side trailer to his grandparents' trailer. So my great grandparents, they lived in a shitty trailer, and he lived with me in the trailer by that trailer that was smaller, that had a black and white 10-inch TV when I was about the ages like 14 through 17. That was my situation. I was born extremely poor. Now I'm in the top like 2.5%. I did the math. And that wasn't even that hard. That wasn't even that hard. That took me 10 to 20 hours of work for a couple years to get to the top, to get to six figures. But the thing is, I inundated my mindset with thinking about all the reasons that I would be able to succeed. I told myself that I'm extremely intelligent. I told myself that I'm extremely hardworking. I told myself that this was easy and that I would succeed. And that just 10, 100 X's your chances of success. Because you start looking for opportunities. You start looking for opportunities instead of looking for excuses. And that's exactly what happened to me. And the same thing applies. And to be completely frank, I could be far richer than I am if I worked harder. I could be a multimillionaire by now. I'm pretty confident in saying that because I got to where I am with 10 to 20 hours of work per week. If I worked 60 hours, I would almost certainly be a multimillionaire by now. But if I spent all that time thinking about how hard it is, watching videos about why you shouldn't try, why it's the government's fault, etc., I would be making the same amount of money that my father was making. Mindset is far underestimated in how big of a factor it is in personal success. So yes, if you're obese, if you're extremely short and out of shape, if you're in the bottom 5%, then I highly recommend doing the small amount of effort that it takes to get. The vast majority of people who are in that situation, they can get out of it. The vast majority of people can at least get into that large part of the bell curve where most people are. Most people, unless you're an extreme genetic outlier. Now, those do exist. And if you're in that situation, that's when, like, I don't know, moving to the Philippines or using money and doing the sugar daddy website or things of that nature, that's where the black pill advice, a lot of it starts to make more sense. That's where I would agree with a lot of that advice for people in those situations. But you got to do the minimum, but you got to do a little bit to try to get out of that. Get into good shape first. Wear shoes that increase your height by a couple inches. Do those things, and most people are going to be able to at least get into the bell curve, or at least going to be able to get into the middle of the bell curve to where they can have real success without it taking some extreme, insane amount of effort. That's the truth. Yeah, clothes, and I mean, they're a factor for sure. The guy I know who gets laid the most is Asian. There's a guy, I mean, I know a guy who's Asian who gets laid more than me. So. And in fact, the guy I knew in college who pulled the hottest girls, who was also the most charismatic guy I knew, not a coincidence, he was Indian. Now, he was above average looking among Indians for sure, but he wasn't like a model, right? He wasn't insanely good looking. He wasn't some Chad. He was a normie, high tier normie or whatever. All right, so I'm going to take a little break, chug some massive amounts of caffeine, and then we're going to react to Wheat Waffles. Wheat Waffles has a new video. You've been warned. Ugly men do not approach women. um, man, I wonder how many suicides that guy has contributed to. Now, by the way, it could be zero, could be a lot more. There's something called learned helplessness. If you're curious why I'm suggesting that possibility, there's something in psychology called learned helplessness that his channel is all about, creating learned helplessness, teaching you to feel that it's helpless. And guess what? Sex is one of the core human needs. And if you feel helpless about your ability to get sex, to get intimacy, to get romance, you're not able to have one of the core human needs, and you feel like there's no reason to try, well, for a lot of people, what is that going to lead to? It's going to lead down to severe depression. And that's what we're going to get into. If you guys are wondering, I'm planning on doing 10 videos a day for a week to see how that affects my channel. Now, most of them are going to be 5 to 10 minutes, right? But I'm going to see what happens because there's been other channels that blew up with that strategy, and I want to see what happens. Now, I'm not promising I'm going to keep doing that after a week, but I'm going to do 10 videos on my channel per week, which means 2-3 live streams per day like this. So if you enjoyed this, stay tuned. I'm going to be doing a lot more. And I just want to see what happens as I build momentum, how much better my delivery gets, how much better my titles get, how much better my thumbnails get. Because the thing with my channel, and this, anyone can extrapolate this to their own life. The thing with my channel, the way I got really good at pickup was taking more action than anyone I knew. The way I got to instructor level, or to a level where people would approach me and be like, how'd you do that? Like, you're really good at this, right? Where people are like in awe or shocked when they saw me just like make out with a girl without even saying anything. The way I got there was momentum. The way I got there was taking massive action. It was basically the 10X rule, which you can read that. It's a book by Grant Cardone. I enacted that. I would approach 50 girls a night every night, unless I pulled, which usually I did. But I would take so much action that I got really smooth. I got really charismatic. I stopped caring about rejection. And that vibe has an effect. And so I want to see what happens if I take that from game, do it to my YouTube channel. Hopefully I prove that it works, and that will inspire other people to do the same in other areas of their life, and of course in regards to dating as well. So I'm going to take a break. I will be back later. I might film infield instead. We'll see, but I might do another live stream, and I might do infield. I'll let you guys know. I'll let you guys know soon. I think a big reason. Look, here's the thing. I want to address this before logging off. I do think I'm intelligent. I agree. I think here's the thing. I didn't test into gifted and talented education during elementary school. I didn't get insanely high SAT scores either. I got like a 1680, I think, if I remember, 1690, like above average, good enough to get into a decent university, but not like Ivy League by any stretch. Math was my lowest, and English I got like extremely high. But anyway, I wasn't considered to be, extremely intelligent. And I heard that more and more over the years, people saying I was smart and saying I was clever, etc. And that happened more. And the one thing that changed is I've read a shit ton of books. I'm not saying IQ isn't real. I'm not saying it's a big factor, not a big factor in intelligence, etc. But I think the more you read, and not just like the Vampire Diaries or some shit, the more you read actual self-improvement, psychology, philosophy, biographies, those kinds of books, the more you read those, I think the smarter you get. Maybe your IQ, whether or not it changes, that's debatable. I mean, maybe they've done studies, but your practical intelligence in terms of your ability to articulate, your ability to understand complex issues, your ability to critically think, all of that does definitely improve. So that's what I would say. I'm pretty sure I'm above average in terms of IQ. I'm sure that I'm not like naturally dumb or anything, but that wasn't something I heard a lot until I started reading a shit ton of books. So that's what I would put out there about that. And I think everyone has a unique ability that they can become successful with, right? Everyone has ways they can find to be successful. I know so many millionaires who are not that smart, man. I know so many doctors. I'm like, that guy's a fucking idiot, but they're hardworking. They have discipline. They have other qualities. In terms of success, IQ actually is less correlated with success financially and in terms of school than literally the marshmallow test, which is a test of by Walter Mischel, I believe, which is a test of willpower, your ability to resist temptation is more correlated with success, the ability to say no to, like, let's say having a drink or watching Netflix or whatever, stronger correlation than IQ, as is the trait grit. And you can read more about that. Angela Duckworth wrote a book called Grit. And that's a trait that is basically about perseverance and the ability to go through hardship and keep trying, right? So that is also more correlated to success than IQ. And I know plenty of people like Grant Cardone. Do you think he has a high IQ? Doubt it. I highly doubt it. I bet his IQ is like 110, normal, maybe 100. And yet he has other qualities. He has militantness, extreme work ethic, extreme self-delusion in a positive way that he's become who's someone who owns a private jet, right? I don't even like Grant Cardone on a personal level, but I can still see that he has a lot of traits that make him successful. And that's why I'll watch his content, because even though I don't like him, I still can see the things I have to learn from him. But anyway, am I going to leave this up? Depends on whether there was a long part at the beginning where sometimes, right, no one's there at the beginning. And so there's dead space and I don't want to leave that. So it depends on whether there's dead space, whether I'll leave it up. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm going to be coming back most likely soon. I'll confirm that, I'll make a YouTube post to confirm that. But if not, I'm definitely going to be doing 2 to 3 of these per day on any day where I'm not filming a massive amount of infield, because like I said at the beginning, I'm just so fed up with not living up to my potential. Look, I don't think I should live up to 100% of my potential, but at least like 50, like my sheer amount of just excuses and laziness and using the phone way too fucking much. Let's see. And you can do this at home on your phone. If you go to settings, you go to screen time. That's on iPhones. There's a equivalent on Androids. I'm not some dork who uses an Android, but I'm joking, by the way. There's nothing wrong with Androids. Yeah, okay. 6 hours, 40 minutes. That's rough. Now, to be fair, some of that is like making videos and stuff like that and audiobooks, but not all of it is. Oh, yesterday, yes, I went to sleep with Hulu on, so that's why. That's why it was so high. But it's way too fucking high. You should delete TikTok, and I am making a point to give all that stuff up. That's one of the there was a period where I was watching literally no bullshit content, right? I would watch videos that are tutorials, stuff like that, but no Netflix, no entertainment. And whenever I was bored, I would just think, I would just reflect, think, do nothing. And I wrote a book in 2 weeks. Now the book was like 100 pages or something, but I wrote it and I revised it 7 times. So that's writing 700 total pages essentially. And I did that in 2 weeks. That was like 8-9 hours of writing per day. That's what you can do when you get rid of all these distractions. So I think that is like the number one thing that will fix your life. Do you think Myron mostly has success with girls because of his looks? No, I think he gets success because of his status and clout. Yeah, it's not because of his career. Well, he actually has become quite charismatic from his podcast. Like if he's gotten to be a very good speaker. So his in-person game might actually not be bad. I haven't seen it. But obviously his partner, Fresh, it's clout. Would you be open to do Yeah, I do online coaching. I don't take on too many clients, and it's not super cheap because I only have so much bandwidth, so much time. But I do online coaching. If you want to inquire, okay. So alcohol is a topic. It's on my list of topics because I spent a year drinking most of the time when I went out to pick up girls. Now, most of my life, I didn't really drink, right? From the ages 21 until, I don't know, 29, 30, I barely drank. I would drink occasionally, like once every couple months, right? But I wasn't relying on alcohol to approach women. But more recently, I had a period where I was extremely stressed, extremely anxious, and I started rationalizing that I needed to drink. And drinking, how did it affect my game? Did it make it better or did it make it worse? It has one big advantage. It reduces feelings of stress and anxiety for like 30 minutes. So that initial resistance, you don't have to go through it. That's great. The problem is after about 30 minutes, you feel the need to have another drink to keep your mood up because it's going down, right? After you drink, your mood slowly goes down. It doesn't like keep going up, it goes down. And then the next drink, it's like it gives you a little boost, but your mood's also going down from the previous drink. It's like the hangover is starting already, right? That's basically what happens. So you're fighting against the negative emotions that are coming up more and more by drinking more. And then eventually, it's not even possible. Eventually, if you're at 6, 7, 8 drinks, you're binge drinking, you're not even in a good mood anymore. And I know this because I've gotten infields where I was noticeably drunk, where I had 5 or 6 drinks. I've gotten infields and I've watched them. Maybe I'll put in a clip. And those were my worst infields. I was less charismatic. My voice went up a fucking octave. I was less masculine. Just everything was worse. I was more choppy. I didn't take the lead as much. I was more hesitant, funny enough. And I also wasted more time, right? I would just be in an interaction that clearly wasn't going anywhere and just not do anything, not move on to the next one, for example. That's what happens when you drink. So it has one advantage. Drinking has one advantage. The first 30 minutes, it can reduce that initial anxiety. But that anxiety would have worked itself out if you just went out and talked to a few people. That also would have done the same. And if you did it that way, you also would have gotten closer to a flow state. You would have gotten momentum. Your mood would start going up. You would start getting endorphins going, etc. And what alcohol does is it numbs your ability to experience any positive emotion. It numbs your ability to actually enjoy what's happening. That's what I've noticed. It doesn't just improve your mood and make you have fun. If you have 1 or 2 drinks and that's all you have for the whole night, not really a big deal. But if you're someone like me who after you have a couple drinks, you're tempted to keep drinking, and you end up binge drinking, it is going to cause so much more harm than good. When I was not drinking, I would pull most nights a really attractive girl, take a really attractive girl home most nights that I went out, the majority, more than half. When I was drinking, it went down to, out of going out 7 days, 1 or 2 pulls per week, which is still not horrible, right? It's, I know like a lot of people are like, oh, that's a high quality problem, but it's definitely worse. And second, you don't get any momentum. So if you go out and the first day you go out sober and you're struggling, you don't want to do it, but you do it anyway. What happens is the next day it's a lot easier. And then the next day it's even easier. You get momentum. But if you drink and you get drunk enough and you get like actually somewhat drunk, you get no momentum. The next day, well, it's harder because you're actually more stressed. Your cortisol levels are up. Your anxiety levels are up. It's actually harder, and you don't remember taking action. You didn't face that resistance because you were using alcohol. So you didn't face the resistance. You didn't overcome an obstacle. So you didn't build momentum. So it's not easier the next day. The other couple things you have to keep in mind with drinking, does it make picking up girls easier or harder, is one, well, first of all, bigger picture, it's going to help you gain weight and make you in worse shape and hurt your self-esteem. So that's bad. And then secondly, you're not going to enjoy the experience as much, even if you have success. Even if you meet a really hot girl and you end up hooking up, when you're drunk, it's not nearly as enjoyable, right? The experience is it's not as good. So what's even the point? You're numbing yourself to joy, to actually feel intimacy, to feel a real connection, etc. So drinking overall causes way more harm than good if you're someone that binge drinks. If you're someone that can genuinely just have a drink or 2 and not feel tempted to have more, nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine, but I'm not that guy. I'm the same way even with energy drinks. Once I have one, I have the second one, I have the third one. Then I'm at like 600 milligrams. I'm wired out of my fucking mind. That's the kind of person I am. So for me, drinking causes far more harm than good. I pulled less girls. I had less fun, made less progress, don't experience the feeling of, and you don't get that experience of pride of having overcome anxiety, of having overcome resistance, that feeling that you did something that required courage, or you didn't want to approach, but you did it anyway. You don't get that either. So overall, far more cons than pros to drinking. And I highly recommend that if you do drink, that's okay, but you need to be able to take action without drinking. If you can do that and drinking isn't a crutch, it's not the end of the world. But if it is a crutch, it will vastly, drastically reduce your ability to have success. And that's why I put a lot of effort into breaking that habit. Maybe I'll talk more about that in the future, but I've reduced my drinking by about 75%. So it's not like I've completely quit cold turkey. I wouldn't say that, but I've reduced my drinking by about 75%. And I've noticed less stress, less anxiety, more willpower, more general enthusiasm for life. Just like I want to take more action. I feel more motivated to do things. And in terms of game, you're just more charismatic. You're able to build momentum. And even though in the short term it's harder, for a week, for 2 weeks, until you're able to do 10, 20, 30 approaches, it might be harder. But once you get over that initial resistance, it's actually easier, more enjoyable, more rewarding, and you get better results. So that is my thoughts. Those are my thoughts on drinking. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button so that this video is shown to other people. I think in the future, I'll probably become an anti-drinking advocate. I think I'll reach a point because alcohol, even though I wasn't drinking every day, I never reached that point. I never would drink when I was alone, right? I would never drink unless I was going out and socializing. Even though I never reached that point, it still had a substantial negative impact on my life, just doing it for somewhere between 1 and 2 years, just having that as a habit. So I highly encourage anyone who's watching this to learn to embrace the stress and the resistance that happens at first when you go out without drinking, because in the long term, you actually experience less stress and have a lot more success. The flow state can last multiple days. Yes. It can be so good that you can't even fall asleep for hours because you're just like having all these positive thoughts and ideas and like machinations that are going on in your mind. You can't even sleep and then you're not tired. Yeah, no problem. Hey, whenever I see a good question, I am happy to answer it in detail. When I see a dumb question, I will answer it in less detail. But that's my answer to that. All right. So that's like what, 4 or 5 videos I just did. And yeah, even now, just because I haven't drank, and last time I drank was in the weekend. And I've been drinking 1 or 2 days a week for most weeks instead of 4 or 5 days. And, even now I'm able to do a longer live stream and feel less stressed about it and to be more enthusiastic. It just makes a night and day difference. How much did my alcohol tolerance go up? Not as much as I would thought. Because the main difference is empty stomach or not. If you have an empty stomach, it's way easier to get drunk. If you have a lot of food in your stomach, it's much harder to get drunk. So I will still, if I'm on an empty stomach, I'll really feel it after 3 or 4 drinks and be kind of drunk. And I weigh over 200 pounds, like 202 right now. But if I'm really, full before I drink, then it would take it's hard to define it, but to get to where I'm like really drunk would take like 8 drinks where I'm like, fucked up. And then if I'm on an empty stomach, I'll feel that same level at like 4 drinks. Hey, and once you get good at cold approach night game, you'll be able to, attract those church women because you have the core confidence, you have the ability to take risks, etc. I appreciate that. I'm definitely going to be doing a lot more live streaming because I think my personality actually matches doing that as the style of content pretty well. So I think I should do, especially as I get more comfortable with doing it. I think I could see myself being a streamer, not like a dork streamer who never leaves the house and encourages people to play video games 8 hours a day, but a streamer like Zerka or something. I could see myself doing a lot of live streams. So what alcohol strength beer do you need to drink? Oh, no, I can have like Trulies. Those are like 4 or 5%. And I can get drunk off those, but I'll also sometimes have stronger ones. It just depends. but I don't need like strong alcohol to get drunk. I could, if I'm on an empty stomach, 4 12-ounce Trulies or White Claws, I'll feel drunk. And really, the thing is, the only point where you really get any benefit from drinking is like at 1 or 2 drinks, where there can be a bit of a benefit, and it's not like a huge downhill. But after you've had 2, you start thinking, well, 1 more will actually get me more of the benefits, and that's not how it works. That's just a self-delusion that we tell ourselves, you know. So it's it's kind of a trap that's very easy to fall into. Now, I have nothing against drinking if you're someone who's in control of it completely, and you can be like, oh, I'll have 2 drinks over the course of the night. 1 drink an hour or less, probably fine. Do once or twice a week, not the end of the world, but if that's you or not, right? And if it's not, it probably never will be. I appreciate this, Kelly. Yeah, I'll at least leave it up for like a day. No problem. And I will still probably do another one of these later, but tonight we have Ludacris is at one of the clubs, and it's like Kevin Hart's birthday event or something. So there's a 2,000 people guest list, which means I have to get there by like 9:30, or it's going to be an 8-hour line, or I can just pay a shit ton for tickets. I might do that. Anyway, it was good talking to you guys, and I'll probably see you again later this evening. 10%. Yeah, that's a lot. If you can drink that much, I would stop. If you can drink 10% beers, that is not healthy. It's super unhealthy. And the thing is, I think alcohol like saps your life force, right? That's basically what it does. It saps your life force. And like you have to do one drug. Caffeine is way less negative. It still has cons, but at least has some positives. But yeah, I would, if that's the amount you drink, I would really just look into content. Actually, Alex Becker, watch this video. Alex Becker has a video. Just look up Alex Becker drinking, and that is a great explanation of what drinking is and why it's bad and how to quit. So watch that video by Alex Becker and watch it like 10 times. Watch it, rewatch it, rewatch it, rewatch it. That's what I did. And then slowly, unconsciously, my desire to drink went down. So that's what I would recommend. It's good that you don't drink alone often, but yeah, drinking. Look, if you can have 6 drinks in one day that are large, just don't do it. Yeah, I think Alex Becker's a very interesting guy. Hopefully I get to the point of clout one day where I can do a collab with him. Although I don't know if I've ever seen him do a collab ever. Anyway, it was good talking to you guys. I'll probably do another one of these later tonight, but if not, I'll see you guys tomorrow.